YouTube vinyl community, Who fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we are here today to talk about the Who's 2017 release, Tommy, live at the Royal Albert Hall. Yeah, this is pretty cool. So, in April of 2017, the Who got together to do a benefit for their teenage cancer trust, which they've been a part of for years. Which is a trust that it's an organization that gives kids, teenagers in hospitals a better experience, because if you're a kid, it's like kid stuff. If you're an old person, it's like old person stuff. But if you're like a teenager, you're basically lost in that shuffle. So basically what this organization does is it helps out teenagers in hospitals have a more teenager-like experience as you can in a hospital. So it's a really amazing organization that they've been a part of for years. And this marks the 100th concert they've done for this trust. This benefit concert for the Teenage Cancer Trust. Originally, this was going to be an all-acoustic show. In late 2016, they kind of mentioned about putting something together, maybe doing an acoustic Tommy for this special occasion, because Pete has expressed so much concern over his hearing in the last few years, and his lack of hearing at this point, that he didn't want to do a loud rock and roll show in hopes that he could retain what was left of his hearing. It's kind of freaky to go deaf, so he wanted to keep that left. And by the time they got around to organizing it and they started doing rehearsals and they got together, they realized it's just easier. Let's just go out and play the thing electric and loud. To which Roger opens up the album saying that. He said, "Hey, you guys probably expected an acoustic thing. Well, we're just going to do the whole full band thing tonight." And the crowd was wild. So pretty cool. But this marks the first time the band has ever played the entire album of Tommy. Over the almost 50 years the album's been out, they've played the majority of it, or maybe, they've usually dropped like Welcome or Sensation or maybe Underture, and a couple others here and there. But for the most part, that's how they always played it. It was like a more abridged version of the album. Never the whole thing. So this was the first time they've ever done the entire thing. And hearing them do some of these tracks live was so cool. I think the songs like Sensation, they should just keep Sensation as a part of their set. It just works really well, and their voices are great on this thing. I think Roger sounds fantastic on that song. But overall, this is a really cool set to have. So they are definitely still a vital source of energy on the stage. And they're really showing they can still do it. I mean, the guys are in their mid-70s now, but they're really, really giving it their all, and they sound awesome. You got Zach Starkey on drums still, and a couple other band members have changed, but Simon's still there, on backup guitar. They've added some extra keyboards. They have, a different bass player. So it's not the same band as it was like 10 years ago, but it's still a very good band, and it works really well. So one thing I did want to point out with this thing is that, in the last few years, Pete has gone on with different interviews saying how he doesn't really care about playing shows anymore. He doesn't care about, like, looking interested or having fun on stage. And he doesn't have to at this point, I guess. I mean, he doesn't owe anybody anything, like I've said in a different Who video lately. He just goes out and does his thing, and he loves playing the hits and just going on there and getting off and doing his thing. On the last couple of tours, Roger's been in charge of the set list, and he's been picking out some obscure songs. On the last tour, they brought back, like, I Could See for Miles, which works really well, but also different things like Slip Kid, which hasn't been played either ever or, not since the mid-70s. And much probably to Pete's annoyance, because he has to, like, pay attention a little more to some of these songs. And throughout this album, he actually does have a music stand with a sheet in front of him with lyrics and guitar notes and stuff to figure out where he's at. It's funny because on this album he actually mentions the night before. They did a couple of nights at the Albert Hall where they did this, playing Tommy. The night before, he was, I guess, visibly sort of like irked trying to get through this thing, because, like, it's a lot of work to play this album. There's a lot of stuff there, and 90% of these tracks are not songs they play ever these days. So then for them to play Tommy, and most of these songs they haven't touched in at least 25 years or more. Actually, almost 30 years. They did the 1989 Tommy tour. They really haven't touched a whole lot of this stuff. So, like, it was a pretty new experience for them because it's been so long. But hearing them do things like Overturing, It's a Boy, 1921, I mean, or like the Acid Queen, or Tommy Can You Hear Me, Smash the Mirror. Like, it's cool to hear them do them now. Because you gotta remember too, the Tommy album was like basically what got them noticed in America, and that was their life throughout 69, 70, and a little bit of 71. That's all they played was the Tommy album, and obviously some hits here, with that set, but that's what they were known for, was Tommy. And so it's interesting hearing Pete say how hard it is to play this album when, like, that's all they did for like 2 or 3 years there, was play this thing. Fascinating to kind of hear that and get into Pete's mindset here. But it's cool, you hear him talk about like making this album. They were in their early 20s, and what it was like playing it at that time. I would really like to get the DVD of this thing to see the actual concert, because it's intercut with like interviews and behind the scenes stuff. So I'd like to see that. But yeah, it's a 3 LP set, and I would not have paid this thing original price for this thing. There was a store going out of business, and I got this thing for a lot cheaper than it normally was, because I think originally it's like $60, which is ridiculous. But for much cheaper, it was doable. So records 1 and 2 are Tommy, and record 3 is like their greatest hits set. They do a couple different things. They actually play Join Together, which I thought was great. I Can't Explain, Join Together, I Can See for Miles, Who Are You, Love Reign Over Me, Bobo O'Reilly, and Won't Get Fooled Again. The scream in Won't Get Fooled Again, a lot of people think it's a track, and then a lot of people think, no, Roger can still do it. I'm not sure what to believe, because it almost sounds like a track, but it's maybe a different take or something, or maybe he's still really screaming it, but I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, he's been doing it for 40-odd years now. Like, he can probably still pull it off. I just think they are still an amazing band to listen to, and it's just fun to hear them play Tommy at this point in their career. Here's the back cover, but I really enjoy the layout of this thing, especially the front cover, just because like Pete's wearing his glasses. I mean, I love that, and they got the cool Tommy logo with the original the Tommy, the Who wording at that time, and you got the look and the birds coming out. And then you open it up. It is a gatefold, but for being a triple record set, they just shove the records in. Got to be delicate with this thing. Some nice shots of the guys. And the records aren't anything like super special. It's basically your standard look. But I'll show you disc 3 here. So let's do that and that and that. Get the label up right, but they all look like that. They all have the Tommy birds up there. But yeah, the sound I think is fantastic. Production-wise, like, it really sounds great. The look of it is cool. I think a lot of decent work went into the presentation of this thing. Beyond like anything negative, I don't really have a whole lot of negative stuff to say about this thing. They still prove that they can do it. This album put them on the map back in the day, especially in America, because America, my generation and I Can See for Miles, like, they had been like pretty decent hits, but like the Tommy album when it came out is what blew them up. So this album has always had a special place in their hearts, I'm sure. And at one point they probably got super tired of playing it, but it's cool to hear them play Christmas and Sally Simpson. But the highlights for me on this thing are definitely Sensation and Welcome. Because those things do not get played. So to hear them do that is extremely special, and it makes it worth picking up just for that. Like I said before, I think Sensation should just be in their set list. I think it's a fantastic song, and the way they pulled it off was expertly done. And that's the thing, there really are no flubs on this thing, and you can't compare it to Live at Leeds, or Live at Hull, or Live at the Isle of Wight. I mean, you can't compare it to that stuff, because that was them then. That was them as 23-year-old guys out on the road, playing this thing non-stop every day for a year, double speed, just soloing and ripping through it. This is a different group of guys at this point. They're older. They're doing their thing now. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's not meant to be compared to the early 70s stuff. It's meant to be taken for what it is right now. If you compare it to the early 70s stuff, you're probably not going to like it. Obviously, because the playing style is different, the energy is different, the atmosphere is different. It's the Who now, and I personally really love it. I've been a huge Who fan forever. And for me, it's just super cool to see them do this live in 2017. Probably one of the last times they'll ever do the entire album live ever again, but um, just because they don't tour that much anymore. But yeah, that's it. There's not much to say about this thing beyond I really enjoyed it. I think the playing is really well done. I think the Zach Starkey on drums does an excellent job. Pete's guitar playing is still just as sharp and vibrant as it ever was, and Roger's vocals are absolutely fantastic. There's a couple of moments where he gets a little gruff in his voice, but I like that. It adds to the character. It adds to the feel of the presentation. I think they've gotten better with age. I mean, each era of the Who I think has been fantastic, and I'm really enjoying them being a band still and they're doing their thing. So that's it. Really not much to add beyond that. I mean, I'm not going to do a detailed analysis of each song because you've heard the Tommy album, and someday I'll do an actual review of the album. But yeah, just really cool to hear them pick out weird random songs you would never expect them to do live, ever. So that's it. My name is Giggens. This has been Album Reviews with The Who, Tommy live at the Royal Albert Hall in 2017. I'm giving this thing an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Because I think it's cool. I would have liked to have seen it being like a triple fold-out thing. Maybe on like a colored vinyl or something. But, if you're paying a lot of money for this thing, you'd hope there's some cool packaging. But overall, I do like the presentation, and the layout of the back is pretty cool. So, that's it. My name is Giggens. This has been Album Reviews with The Who, Tommy, live, 2017. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.